Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Angela Byrd-Wright, Mathematics Curriculum Leader and Division Equity Leader, and I'm joined by
Hi there, Linda Pedron-Dietz, Supervisor of Research, Accountability, and Data Management.
Fantastic. And we are teaming up today, Linda, to talk through the Math Growth and Recovery Report for our elementary and middle schools and our Math Recovery Report for our high schools. Super excited about this work and how it will be very beneficial to help our schools to be able to track their students and know exactly where they are with some specificity in regards to now the new vertical scores, that alignment, and how that impacts accreditation and our R10. So I'm excited to have some conversation about that with you today. So for our teachers, our administrators, and our division leadership watching this video today, the first place you'll go to locate the growth and recovery or reports, you're going to go to the top of any pacing guide as you're used to seeing. You're going to select General Resources. Once you have selected General Resources, it's going to take you to this folder here. You'll notice that it is in list view. Once you do that, you will select the 21-22 K-12 math data files. You'll notice here that we have a couple of items as always for you. You'll have your archive data from the 2021 school year, which you can always look at, but you'll also see your accreditation scenarios and a video of Linda going through the accreditation scenarios to help you understand what is going to be best suited for you to continue to attain that accreditation without conditions. You'll be able to find your growth and recovery report by either selecting the elementary or secondary folder. So for example, I'll just use elementary and we'll use Aberdeen today as an example because they're right there at the top of the list alphabetically. And so we'll look there in Aberdeen. You'll notice in the Aberdeen folder, we have placed your fall through course assessment results. Those are your SPBQ PDFs. And when you open this, you're going to see your school. So if you are a middle school, you'll see the name of your school and that grade band. If you are a combined school, you'll see the grade bands that are impacted by the fall through course assessments. And so you'll select it. Once you do so, you'll see each of your students that are listed and they are grouped by grade level. That allows you to see that high, medium, and low for each of your reporting categories and how students fared on this particular assessment. You'll also notice to the right of that score report, you're going to see a vertical scale score. And we're going to talk more in depth about that vertical scale score and what that means moving forward as we get into our spring testing this year. When I'm back in the Aberdeen folder, and again, this works for all of our folders, you're going to see then the Math Growth and Recovery Report. You'll see that the date has now been updated. So you'll know specifically that's the most recent version. The last version that you had was from July of 2021. So now we're into October and you're going to see that information there. So here's our growth and recovery report. And I'm going to go through the first couple of items, but the first place you want to go is the overview and that details tab. We want to make sure, and we'll have this video linked into the overview. You want to make sure that you review the video first and making sure that you know each of the items that will be listed. We have your midnight weeks and CSA scoring. You know that we'll be adding that information over the course of the year. You'll see green, yellow, and red in each of those percentages so that you'll be able to track your students with specificity across the grade levels and throughout the course of this year. We'll also talk about when we get to the student progress list, you'll see who is eligible for growth, who's eligible for recovery, pass outright, and their impact score, as well as the spring 21-22 score needed. We've also placed some information in regards to how growth will be measured this year, and Linda will speak to that as we move forward. I'm excited now to turn it over to Linda because she's going to walk us through the new math progress tables. Linda?
Sure, thank you. So on our screen here, we see the mathematics progress tables, and it actually is very similar to our old progress tables. Our old progress tables that you might be more familiar with were on a scale of 0 to 600. The new vertical tables and what we'll be using this year are actually on a scale of 900 to 2000. But same idea, how we used to determine growth from grade level 3 to 4, for example, 4 to 5. We'll do the same thing for this year, with the only exception being now grade 3 can be included, and those students can count as growth. So for grade 3 students, we would actually go across the ranges. So for example, if I'm a student and in the fall, this would have been the first opportunity for me to test in the fall, I scored a 920, let's say. That is considered low below basic, range 1. You'll see it referenced as LBB on your student list. So if I got a 920 in the fall, I would have to go to high below basic and hit at least a 1272 vertical score in order to be included as a growth student. So once again, I go from a low below basic, grade 3 in the fall, to high below basic in the spring, and I could be included as a growth student. So grade 3 is the only grade level that will go across. Every other grade level will go diagonally. So if I'm a student now, school year 21-22, I'm taking grade 4 in the spring. And let's say I score in the spring a 13-14. That's considered a high below basic range. In the fall, we're gonna go backwards and look at what did that student score in the fall? What was their vertical score? So if they fell between 900 and 1271 in the grade 3, because they were assessed on grade 3 content in the fall. So if I fell in that range, and now my grade 4 spring test is a 13-14 at minimum, I can now be considered a growth student because I moved up 1 performance band. Same thing, we would look grade 4 to grade 5, grade 5 to grade 6, 6 to grade 7, and then 7 to grade 8.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining that, Linda. And so now we're going to move to the student list so folks can really understand what they're going to be provided with when they look at their math growth and recovery or recovery report. So first off, in each of the columns, we have your current school as well as the responsible school. Next, you're going to see the student name. Any student that has transferred in for the 21-22 school year, you'll see their names in all caps. Next, you'll see the student grade level, their student ID number, their state testing identification number. Then you'll also see the ethnicity, race, English learner, and students with disabilities. You'll notice that we put this information in because as you think about R10 and your achievement gap groups, you're going to keep that piece in mind so that you can be able to continue to track and see where you are with the progress in those areas. But also the only area that we cannot add information in regards to, and that is your economically disadvantaged students. But now when you see your items in your respective data folders, you'll be able to sort your information in accordance to this so you can be able to track. Next, you'll see that all students have been sorted by their teachers' names. So here, for example, at Aberdeen, we have Ms. Boggs. She is first on the list alphabetically. So all of her students are grouped that way. That's why your students are not grouped alphabetically. Next, you'll see their course name with the enrollment that they're in, and then their SOL score, and if they took the VRSPT. So if a student did not take the SOL, then there should be, in most cases, a VRSPT score. If not, you're going to see a notice that they did not test. Linda's going to pick up for here and talk about the relationship with the spring and the fall vertical scores, and then relate that back to the progress table.
Sure. So this year is very unique. It's almost a transition year. So we will have the opportunity for students to show growth either from the spring 2021 to the spring 21-22, or fall 21-22 to spring 21-22. So there's 2 opportunities. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the vertical score that the student obtains in this spring. And it's almost, look at it going backwards. So we get their vertical score in the spring, and we're going to go back and we're going to look at the fall, and we'll say, based on this fall vertical score, did the student show growth or not? If they did not, then we'll go back and look at the spring vertical score to see if they had the opportunity to show growth from that point in time. So what I did there was, you'll notice in column Q, it's actually just pulling the lowest vertical score, because in this unique year, the first year, you have the opportunity to show growth from either term. So really, we just want to look at the lowest vertical score. When we look at that lowest vertical score, the next column over, it says starting performance band. So that in the first student row there says high basic. So that score of 1412 fell in the high basic band. So for this student, we're going to look over in column S and see their next performance band. So what is the next level for them? And it just so happens to be pass. So that tells me that this student scored fairly high, and their only option at this point is to pass the test. We also have recovery to consider. We can include that, and we'd want to go actually back to column M. And in this case, the student scored a 399 on the old scale of 0 to 600. So they did fail. So we know they failed. We know really they have to pass this year. And when they do that, they're going to be included as a recovery student because of that failing score in last spring. So those are the types of things you'll see in these columns. You'll see the lowest vertical score. We'll pull that to determine growth. The performance band that score fell into, the next performance band that they would need to achieve in order to show growth or recovery or pass. And then moving to the next column in U, you're going to actually see the score needed, the spring 21-22 score needed. And that will be score needed to show growth, score needed to pass. In most cases, you'll see that vertical score. In a handful of cases, you'll see a 400, and that is referencing the old score. But those are going to be for students who are in algebra or geometry. They're going to have to pass outright. We wouldn't consider them for growth at this point. So that's why you'll see the old 400 there at times. And then in the next column over, it's called your impact score. You'll see 1-pass, 1-growth, or 2-recovery. And that really tells you how the student is going to count in the numerator and the denominator. So if I'm a recovery student, I count twice because I get an extra little credit for recovering that failure from the previous year. So I'm counted twice in the numerator, twice in the denominator. If I pass, I'm just counted once in the numerator, once in the denominator. And if I have a 1-growth, it's technically a failing score, but we actually count them as a passer in the numerator one time and one time in the denominator.
Awesome. So Linda, can you just answer a quick question for me? So will growth students, are they a part of your R10 or just your passers that are a part of R10? For just some clarification.
Sure. So they are part of the R10, but not in the way you would think. So when we're doing the, when we're talking about the numerator and the denominator, at the end, when we calculate the combined rate, those growth students actually are passers. But for R10, they're truly failing students. Mm-hmm. So you want to think of them as a pass because overall they will be a pass, but specifically for R10, we have to look at them as a failing student. They go into the failure rate. And that's what when we're talking about the R10, we're talking about reducing that failure rate. So if you reduce your failure rate, you're really increasing your pass rate. And to increase your pass rate, we only look at true passing students. And that would be a pass outright or a passing student that was also recovery. But in this case, they really are only counted one time for the R10 rate.
Makes sense. So thank you so much for sharing that information because I think that will be helpful to our teachers as well as to our administrators and division level as they think through ways for intervention and support. And that's really the purpose of this support of this particular resource because it's going to be a support to you. So throughout the course of this year, as we said on the details tab, you're going to see those students and these columns will be conditionally formatted. Every time we do a CSA, or a mid-9 weeks assessment moving forward, you'll begin to see each of these empty columns for now begin to populate, and that will be added with, as we go back to the details tab for a moment, you're going to see their scores with that particular cut score for math at 60% or higher, and then those students that are yellow and red, and it'll be grouped by teacher. So anticipate that moving forward. For virtual students as well, Any student that is enrolled in our virtual programs, you're going to see that you will have that information shared with you as well, because they are also a part of your population or enrollment. And so that information, similar to the students that are there in person, will be the same thing that you will see on your virtual tab. So each growth and recovery report will have the details, the overview video, your progress table, your student list, as well as your virtual students. For our high schools, you will not see vertical scores, as those students are pass fail, and they'll be back on that traditional scale, if you will, Linda, that 0 to 600, because they're taking an EOC course. And so you'll see that information populated for you too. But otherwise, the report is going to read the same for our high schools. So thank you so much, Linda, for your time as we recorded this video today. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to support you and your school's needs. Thank you.